Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick video on this kit from Banggood here. This is the Eachine Novice-1. Now inside this nice case comes everything you need to fly. Well, everything apart from a bit of talent and 4 AAA batteries. In here is the quadcopter itself. There is also a little radio. There is some FPV goggles, the antennas you need. There's a number of batteries. You can either get it with a couple of batteries or 10 batteries like in this pack. And you also get a little charger too. Now, with the exception of the little quadcopter, most of this stuff is definitely built to a price point, but it's still impressive that they've managed to get everything in this little case for the kind of money that they're talking about. So let me very quickly run through what you get in the case and then talk about what it's like to use and fly. Because I guess this is aimed at those pilots who want to try the hobby, who have none of the technology at all. They don't have a charger, a radio or anything, and they want a way to get everything they need inside one box and not have to worry about compatibility issues or missing cables. The really nice thing about this is that everything is set up out the box. So the radio is bound to the model is set up with the different modes, the video transmitter on the quadcopter is set to the right channel, and that channel is also set on the little goggles as well. So you can very quickly, by charging the goggles, it has an internal battery, popping 4 AA batteries in the back of the radio, and charging some of the batteries and connecting them into the quadcopter, be in the air very quickly indeed. Now the little quad that comes with this is a 75mm 1 or 2S brushless whoop style quad. It is about 33 grams without battery, wheelbase about 75mm, F4 Pro flight controller in here, and the camera angle is adjustable with the VTX power being selectable between 25 and 200 milliwatts. The video transmitter is smart audio ready to allow you to change all the settings, but again they're ready out the box. The motors are little 13.5 kV units, a little 5 amp 4-in-1 ESC, BL Heli running D-Shot 600. It has an internal SPI receiver set out the box to DI to work with the same radio. But the camera is very nice here. This is one of the little Nano 2s from Runcam, so the camera performance for FPV is very good. Radio transmitter is a WT8. Interestingly, this is also available separately. If you manage to get your hands on a little Whoop style model like this, or another model and you need a very cheap and cheerful radio to use with it, you can buy the WT8 separately. You can get it in some pretty gaudy colour schemes. I've got one with flames on here, but it also comes with a little S-Bus receiver. So you can either bind it to something like these SPI receivers in these smaller models that are coming out now, or if you need an S-Bus connection, then you can use the included receiver. And the last big part of the kit is the VR005 goggles. This is a 2.7-inch screen. It's not massive resolution. It's 960 by 240 pixels. The resolution is a bit squished. The focus isn't adjustable. And for me, who needs reading glasses, I'm at that point in my life, the image isn't great to focus on. But if you have reasonable close-up reading ability, then these goggles will work fine. The charger that comes with the kit is pretty basic as well. It'll run off a USB or a LiPo battery or a DC charger, and you can plug the batteries in and they charge up in a reasonable amount of time. It'll charge 6 at once, and with the kit that I have here there are 10 batteries, and again you can use them with 1S and plug a little cable into the other connector. 1S is great for just hovering around indoors and good for practice, or you can pop 2S into this and it's better for outdoors, gives an awful lot more power, and on 2S it'll hover at about 50% throttle. Flying the model around is fine. The controls are a little bit twitchy. I would go into Betaflight and potentially add a chunk more expo onto all the controls. This is aimed at a beginner, and I think there could be a couple more tweaks done in the Betaflight setup to make that easier. So reducing the rates and increasing the exponential might make for a more stable hover. And the FPV works fine. The goggles don't have any kind of DVR. They're not particularly comfortable fit on the face, but they absolutely work. So what do I like? Well, I like the way that this is a great way to get almost everything you need at once, with the exception of a couple of batteries and some practice. Almost everything you need is in there. The quad, I think, is a really nice quad. I think the spec's quite nice. The runcam camera, it performs and behaves really nicely. The radio is okay. It's only okay. It's a bit cheap and cheerful. It's one of those things. Goggles and radios are the things that you invest in the hobby. You buy an expensive radio, or relatively expensive radio, expensive FPV goggles, and you have them for 3, 4, 5 years. In fact, my Taranis radio I've had for 5 years, and my HDO2 goggles I've had for a matter of weeks. But I imagine that those will be the ones I'll be using until I can get my hands on something better. But I have friends that are still using the same goggles that they've had for 3 or 4 years and are very happy with them. So this kit is going to be great to start out with, but I think you'll very quickly, once you get into the hobby, start to realise the limitations of some of this. I do like the way that it's set up all out the box, so that the radio's bound to the receiver, the VTX channel and the goggles are all set up. That removes a lot of the messing around and panic that you get as a new pilot when things don't work. But a couple of things to be aware of. You will need some form of power for the charger. That isn't supplied. There's no kind of power cable, so you are going to have to need a LiPo battery or something like that to do it. I'm disappointed to see there aren't lots of spares in the package. Part of learning, which I guess this is who this is aimed at, is you're going to have lots of crashes, so some spare props would have been good. So if you're buying this, I would almost certainly treat yourself to some spare props for the quadcopter, as you will crash. That's just part of learning to fly. And my last couple of comments with this feels very much like it is built to a price point, but they've done really well to get everything inside this little case to try it out. And if you've never tried the hobby and you want a relatively low cost way to get all the pieces to see what everyone's been banging on about, this is a relatively safe, inexpensive way to do it. But once you've learned to fly with this, moving on to better radios, better goggles, you'd probably keep the little quadcopter, because the little quad I think is quite good. You will have to retrain your fingers a little bit. These kind of PlayStation, Xbox style controllers are great if you're coming from that kind of background, but if you want to move on to a more traditional radio, there's a little bit of retraining that you need to do with your fingers to make you feel more comfortable with those kind of controls. And don't underestimate the amount of time it takes to fly. I know watching some YouTube videos, you think that you can pick it up in about 15 minutes. It takes an awful lot of practice for the majority of people. Some are very lucky and pick it up quickly. Most of us had to spend months and months practicing in order to get the basics down pat. So the winter is a great time to fly something like this indoors and just get the hang of being able to hover, and then also trying out FPV with including goggles too. But with this kit being aimed at the newer pilot, I think Eachine could do a little bit more. There's lots of other novice kits about. There's the Novice 2 and I think the Novice 3 as well. And from what I've seen of all of them, the model, the little quadcopter itself, is actually pretty good. It's the radio and the goggles that are letting it down. Now, in some of those other kits, there are better versions of both. And I think in some of the other kits, there's also longer sticks for the radio too. Eachine do need to spend some more time in the Betaflight configuration, tweaking everything to calm it all down, to make it as easy as possible to fly. And if they do that, then this truly would be aimed at the novice. Thanks for watching the video and watching right to the very end. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you like the video and like what I'm doing here, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon too. If you really like what I'm doing, you can go the extra mile and become one of my Patreons for access to me directly for support, and also giveaways and regular updates too. If you're looking for particular content, then check out the playlist. I organise all of my videos into playlists, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can find everything here. If it's called Introduction To, it's designed to start very simply and build on that simple introduction to teach you all about it. If it's called For Beginners, then that is really aimed at people who are brand new to that part of the hobby. You can also search on YouTube for anything that you're interested in using the search function at the top. So iNav Painless 360 will find all of my videos and even the playlist around iNav. So thanks again for watching and happy flying.